They're calling it Liberation Day. On August 1st, the U.S. will unleash a new wave of tariffs that could redefine the global economy. Most people still think it's business as usual, but this time it's different. Because for the first time in decades, American trade policy is being used to protect the American worker and simultaneously dismantle a system that's been draining U.S. leverage since the 1990s. For years, nations like Vietnam, India, and Mexico have quietly flooded U.S. markets with low-cost goods, undercutting American factories and turning supply chains into foreign leverage points. But that game is ending. This time, the tariffs aren't just symbolic. They're sharp, targeted, and designed to force a choice, produce under fair conditions, or lose access to the world's largest consumer base. And there's more going on beneath the surface. While media coverage focuses on individual industries, semiconductors, EVs, rare earths, the bigger story is that these tariffs are laying the groundwork for a full economic realignment. The U.S. isn't just trying to bring jobs back, it's trying to break the dependency loop. Because every time America outsourced its manufacturing, it gave up a little more control over labor standards, energy inputs, national security, and even currency influence. Now that tide is turning. Beginning August 1st, steep tariffs will hit a wide range of imports: industrial magnets, solar panels, steel components, outdated chips, and more. And the penalties are real. Some imports will face 25% to 50% duties, with no delay, no negotiation. This isn't a bluff. Behind the scenes, U.S. trade officials have been issuing quiet warnings for months. Countries that want to keep their access must meet new conditions: tighter labor enforcement, cleaner supply chains, and cooperation on digital standards. Some are complying, others are resisting. But the clock just ran out. And here's where it gets even more serious. Many of the nations being hit weren't the original targets. They were beneficiaries of China's decline. New hubs for U.S. offshoring, after Washington began pushing back on Beijing. But the White House knows this game too well. Move production from China to Vietnam, or from Shanghai to Guadalajara, and you're still offshoring the core of America's economy. So this time, the net is wider. No more loopholes. No more shell games. And if it works, the implications are enormous. We're not just talking about job creation. We're talking about reshoring entire industries, building sovereign capacity in energy, defense, and advanced tech. But there's a deeper layer few are seeing. This tariff wave is also a signal that the U.S. is preparing for a new kind of economic warfare, one where trade, currency, and capital flow become weapons of strategy rather than tools of commerce. In that future, whoever controls production controls power. And this reset isn't just about punishing competitors. It's about creating leverage, forcing trade partners to the table on American terms. That's why the August 1st launch date matters so much. It's not random. It's a deadline, a marker for the end of the old order. Some have quietly called it a new Bretton Woods moment, a coordinated shift in trade rules that reestablishes who leads and who follows in the global economy. But others are preparing for turbulence. Companies that depend on cheap imports are scrambling to adjust. Investors are already repositioning. And behind the scenes, global institutions are taking notes, because what happens next could define the next decade of supply chains, inflation, and innovation. And here's what most won't tell you. This entire policy wave has been months in the making, and few in the mainstream even know it's real. While headlines talk about political distractions, the U.S. has been quietly crafting a long-game strategy to reclaim industrial control, reinforce strategic sectors, and finally pull back the power it gave away. It's not a conspiracy, it's a recalibration. One where the U.S. stops pretending that endless globalization is good for everyone and starts acting like a country that wants to win again. And when the tariffs activate, it'll be more than just a policy move. It'll be a signal to the world the United States is done playing defense. Liberation Day won't be loud. It won't be televised, but it will be felt in shipping lanes, trade offices, and corporate boardrooms around the world. Because this time, the leverage is coming home. And yet the true shockwave won't be seen immediately in news headlines or press briefings. It'll ripple through supplier contracts, procurement budgets, and the silent restructuring of global logistics. What seems like a simple tariff decision is in reality a declaration of intent. An intent to break the cycle. For decades, America's economic strength has been hollowed from within, not just by outsourcing, but by the ideology that cheaper was always better. That efficiency mattered more than resilience. that GDP growth could replace real jobs and national production. August 1st is the first real reversal of that mindset. It's a line in the sand. A message to the world: access to the U.S. consumer is no longer a given. It's a privilege, one that now comes with rules. Already, early signals are emerging. Some multinational firms are quietly relocating supply chains to U.S. soil, not because they want to, but because they can't afford not to. Others are petitioning for exemptions, hoping to carve out back doors while the dust settles. But that door is closing fast. This tariff reset isn't just about trade volume. It's about value alignment. Washington wants partners that play by fair rules, respect labor and environmental standards, and aren't proxies for adversarial regimes. And this is where the stakes escalate. If enough countries refuse to adapt, the U.S. has a new tool in its arsenal: economic exclusion. Not just higher tariffs, but denial of technology licenses, restricted investment access, and digital decoupling. That's the future this moment is building toward. A world split not just by ideology, but by supply chain allegiance. We've seen echoes of this before, during the semiconductor restrictions, the 5G bans, the rare earth stockpiles. But this is the first time the strategy is being applied to the entire industrial ecosystem. And it won't be the last, because once the U.S. proves it can weaponize market access to rebalance power, it won't stop. It'll double down, use it to negotiate better tech agreements, stronger IP protections, even new trade currencies backed by sovereign production, not speculation. That's why Liberation Day matters. It's not just about tariffs. It's about leverage, influence, and control over what the next financial architecture looks like. And if you listen closely, you'll hear the echoes of past shifts: the original Bretton Woods, the Nixon shock, the Plaza Accord. Each reshaped the global economy, not with fanfare, but with a coordinated pivot. This one feels different because it's happening in the open. And yet, few are prepared. They're too busy watching election cycles, debating headlines, and arguing over the symptoms, while the system itself is being rewritten. But if you've made it this far in the video, you're already ahead of the curve. You understand that power is shifting, not just politically, but economically. And the real winners of this shift won't be the loudest voices. They'll be the most strategic, the ones who see where things are going and adjust before the rest. Because when the dust settles, there won't be a return to normal. There will only be a new normal, and the foundations are being poured right now. This is your early signal, your invitation to see through the noise and position yourself on the right side of history. The world isn't ending. It's being reorganized. Stay sharp, stay focused, and stay prepared. Subscribe to Wealth Signal for sharp macro updates before they hit the headlines, and stay 3 moves ahead of the system.